Have you ever wanted to add a little more dimension to your cards without making things complicated? Today I'm trying the double vision card technique, and what I love about this one is you only need a single piece of pattern paper. With just a few simple cuts and a little dimension, you get this really cool effect where the design almost looks like it's shifting. It's one of those techniques that looks way more complicated than it actually is. So I'll walk you through it step by step so you can try it too. Hey everyone, it's Lean from ColoradoLean.com. Welcome back to the craft room. Now this technique is very new to me and I am super excited to work through it with you. I am going to start with this piece of pattern paper. This is from the Sunset Fields paper pad from Recollections. And out of this sheet of paper, I'm going to get two complete cards. I'm going to do a vertical card as well as a horizontal card. So the first thing I want to do is cut this paper down. Now, one thing I definitely want to do is I want to take off these gold sides because they don't really go with the idea that I have. So I'm going to start by trimming those off. Now I want to cut the width that I'll need for both of the cards. And I'm going to need 4 inches wide for one of them. And I'm going to need 5 inches wide for the other. So I think I'm going to take the 5-inch off of the left-hand side. And then I will set this piece aside to work on later. For our next piece, I need this to be 4 inches wide. And I think I'm going to cut off this side. The first card I'm going to make for you today is the vertical card. So we have our pattern paper that is 4 inches wide. And now we need to cut it to 5 1/4 inches tall. Now what we need to do is cut this into 1/2-inch strips. And we also want to keep them in order as we cut them. So I will slide that one off to the side. I'm going to go ahead and move my trimmer off for just a minute so we can talk about what to do next. So we have our strips, and the way that we create the card is that every other strip is popped up on some sort of dimension. So we'll have one strip on the card, one strip popped up, one on the card, one popped up, one on the card, one popped up, one on the card, and one popped up. In the videos that I've seen online, they have popped up these extra pieces with either foam dots or foam tape. However, instead of that, I am going to use 110-pound cardstock to cut my strips. So I will move these back out of the way, bring in my paper trimmer, and I want to make sure that this piece is 5 1/4 inches tall. And then I'm going to cut these into 1/2-inch strips. To give my pattern paper a little bit more lift off of the card, I did cut 8 strips, and I'm going to glue them together. All right, I have my strips glued together, and I'm just going to set them aside for a few minutes. I have a piece of 110-pound card, and this, by the way, is the cream colored from Recollections. This is cut to the same size as our pattern paper. So it is 4 inches wide by 5 1/4 inches tall. And I'm going to bring in my mini Misty just to help me keep things lined up. So I am going to place this in the lower left corner and just hold it down with my magnet. Now this part is totally up to you. I want to make sure that nothing shifts and everything is glued all the way down to the bottom. So the first thing I'm going to do is glue my first strip down. And as always, I am using Barely Art glue for that. So I just noticed that my cardstock that I'm gluing to is a little bit too tall. So before I go any farther, I am going to trim that down to size. Now I'm going to take the next strip, and this one will be popped up. However, for now, I'm just going to place it here as a holder. And now I will glue the next strip down to the mat. And you want to make sure that is right next to, but not on top of, the previous strip. And then we'll bring the next one in. And just set it right next to it. And then we'll glue the next one down. All right, now that we have our strips glued flat, we'll go ahead and take out every other one. And then I'm going to glue them to their cardstock strips. No. Okay, well, I'm glad I saw that. This is not tall enough. So I'm going to hop off here and cut some more strips to size, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, I recut and re-glued my cardstock strips, and I also put the pattern paper on each one, just to save a little time. So now what we want to do is glue these onto our card mat. And they should fit perfectly in the space we have available. And there is our pattern paper front. Now, it looks like I did cut one of the strips a little bit too wide, but that's okay for me. I think it kind of adds to the, wait, what's going on look? So I'm okay with that. I do have a cream colored mat, and this is 4 1/8 inches wide by 5 3/8 inches tall. So this is just going to give us a very small border around our pattern paper. So I will go ahead and glue that into place. And then I will go ahead and glue that to my card base, which is 8 1/2 inches wide, 5 1/2 inches tall, scored down the middle at 4 1/4. And this is the brown cardstock from the Coffee and Cream paper pack. And again, we will just have a very, very slight margin. For my sentiment, I used a piece of the cut apart, and I think that is going to be very pretty on here. The only thing I have to be careful of is where I put the glue on the back of my sentiment, because it's only going to be popped up on these taller pieces. So I can put glue on the very end and right down the middle. And there is our first finished card. All right, let's work on our horizontal card now. So we have our pattern paper that is 5 inches wide. And now we need to trim this down to 3 3/4 of an inch tall. Now I do want more of the brown paper here on the top to show. So I'm going to trim this off. Oh, I don't know, probably about 1/2 an inch. And this will give me room to put my sentiment up here. So again, we need to cut this into 1/2 inch strips. And as we cut them, we need to lay them off to the side in the order that we cut them. We need a piece of cardstock that is the same size as our pattern paper. So this is 5 inches wide by 3 3/4 of an inch tall. And I will bring my Misty back in to help me glue these in place. So just like before, we're going to glue every other strip down to our card. And after we get one strip glued, then we will take the next strip as a placeholder. So I will go ahead and rush through this for you. Now that I have my strips glued to the mat, I will go ahead and take off the extra pieces. And again, I am keeping them in order. I have pre-cut and pre-glued my cardstock strips. And again, I am using 2 pieces of 110-pound card. So I'm going to glue my pattern paper. And then I will glue it in place. So I will continue this for the rest of the card. And there is our pattern paper panel. For the mat, I have a piece that is 5 1/4 inches wide by 4 inches tall. So we'll have a little bit larger mat on this particular card. And then I'm going to glue it to another piece of the brown cardstock. And again, that will be a little bit bigger mat. So I will go ahead and get these glued together and be right back with you. And for the sentiment, I have another piece from the cut apart that says blessed. And I'm going to adhere that right here in the upper left-hand corner. And there is our finished horizontal double vision card. I really love how both of these cards turned out. This is such an interesting design, and it's a great way to give a simple piece of pattern paper that extra something without a lot of extra effort. Now, I found that this works especially well with 12 by 12 papers that have larger images. You know, the ones that can be a little tricky to use on a standard card front, like the floral border paper I used today. Cutting it into these strips really gives it a whole new look. I do have a few more examples to share with you, just to give you some additional ideas for how to use this technique. The first example is the card I shared at the beginning of the video. I used a piece of pattern paper from the Simple Stories Holly Jolly paper pad. And for the dimension, I added just 2 layers of 65-pound cardstock behind the raised strips. This one has a really subtle lift, but you still get that double vision effect coming through. For the next card, I used pattern paper from the Seven Gypsies Avignon paper pad, and this has a much busier pattern. I did use the same 2 layers of cardstock for the dimension, but you can see the effect is a little more subdued here. And for this last example, I went a little bit different. This paper is also from the Sunset Fields paper pad by Recollections that I used earlier, but instead of cream cardstock, I used 2 pieces of 110-pound black cardstock behind the raised strips. This gives you more of a shadow effect, which really helps the panels stand out. And I love how much contrast that adds. I also played around with a couple more floral layouts in both vertical and horizontal designs, and I'll have pictures of those over on the corresponding blog post at coloradolean.com. Now I'd love to know, which one of these beautiful cards is your favorite? And is this a technique you think you'll try? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for spending some creative time with me today. If you enjoyed this project, I'd love it if you gave the video a thumbs up. And if you're new here, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next tutorial. I'll see you soon.